Welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Tuesday, June 2nd. Public servants today got a chance to go one-on-one with Prime Minister Mia Mottley, government officials and union leaders on the proposed Barbados Optional Savings Scheme. The program provides for public servants to convert a percentage of their monthly income into government bonds. And for the most part, while workers sought clarification on a number of issues, they appeared generally supportive of the initiative.
This bond is a fantastic instrument for public sector workers. It's probably the first time in the history of the public service that you had at your disposal a financial instrument to invest in. And really, the leadership should have come from those responsible for the labor movement to give us encouragement to invest in this bond. My concern, PM, is we have a 1% at the banks and we have a 5% of the GR bond. It's more attractive. This bond is more.
The banks ain't even 1%. The banks is 0.1, and some are even less than 0.1.
So banks are also able to invest in this. What I'm saying is, this is a program for the public sector worker, and for banks or credit unions to be able to go in and get the same 5%, it may defeat that economic enfranchisement that you refer to. What I'm suggesting to you, Prime Minister, that each public sector worker has this program is for them, is the vendor. And if you want to buy these bonds, you have to buy through the vendor, which will be the public sector worker. This is a chance for the unions to
Mark, that is exactly that. That is exactly that. The only way a credit union, a bank, or anybody who's a non-public sector worker get their hands on a bond is if a public sector worker chooses to cash out his.
My feeling is this. I think we all would like to participate in helping the country, quote unquote. It's just that, for me, $335 at the end of the month is hard. What about for some of us, you bring a bond that is, say, 100, like for somebody like me, I may be able to afford 100. I think what people are feeling is that the percentages that y'all put out there, for some of us, it's too high.
I came here this morning to really say to the government, this is a really amazing plan, boss plan as it's called. And I am happy as a public servant to be able to make a commitment. It's really hard to say that we all have disposable income. We really don't. But when I think about what this plan will do, how it will help my brothers, how it will help my sisters, how it will help my family, I have no choice. Even though I don't have a lot of fiscal space, I will find some money. I will find money because as a social worker, I understand the deprivation. I understand the hardship that is out there. When I think about that household mitigation program, assistance program that the government would have just put in place, I know I sound a little teary because when I look and see how that's helping individuals out there, I can tell you some of us, we might not, because of where we are or where we sit, we don't get to see that every day, but I get to see it. And I'm very happy that the government came up with a program that will give me the opportunity to invest my money, not only invest my money to help save. I got a problem saving. And if I buy a bond, it can help me to save. So I am very happy. And my real concern, though, is how this message is going to get out to the worker who really needs to come on board.
It's projected that BOSS will create approximately $100 million in fiscal space for capital spending. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says the response has been positive.
What is, however, is the overall thing we need to be our brothers, sisters, and keepers. Okay? But we do accept that individual circumstances will be different. So with one of your other sister unions, they've already indicated, for example, that 92% of their membership will take the bonds. Okay? We expect that will vary from association to association and, for want of a better phrase, from ministry to ministry. But because of the commitment of credit unions, pensioners, and other Barbadians who are saying, I want some of them bonds, we are satisfied that there is a market that is full for it.
Parliament was back in session today, and a major talking point was the Catastrophe Fund bill. Leading off debate on the measure, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, stoutly defended government's decision to assist businesses through the Catastrophe Fund. He noted that with a third of the workforce now claiming unemployment benefits as a result of the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, government had to step in.
Our mission, sir, is to ensure that as many people can keep their heads above water, sir, in this country at a very critical time where the government finds itself under tremendous pressure because the revenues, sir, because of the timing too of the impact of COVID-19 has meant that we have not been able to generate enough surpluses early enough in the financial year that at least will help us to move forward. So we're effectively in a position, sir, where we have to manage this process through and be as clear to the public as we can, whilst asking people to recognize that those almost 43,000 claims for unemployment, sir. And it's a situation, sir, that is quite extraordinary.
But Opposition Leader Bishop Joseph Atherley accused government of raiding the Catastrophe Fund. The St. Michael West MP urged government to use other alternatives to help struggling businesses. He warned that the fund should not be touched during this time.
I don't support the approach of a raid on the Catastrophe Fund and the justification used as a premise for that. Mr. Speaker, if I may be allowed to repeat that. Now, the money is going from the Catastrophe Fund to businesses who have filed their VAT returns. I think it was said for 2 quarters of 2019 or something like that. You're talking, therefore, Mr. Speaker, probably a certain level of business operation in Barbados. Why not facilitate the loan from the same VAT payments if current existing legislative arrangements don't allow that? Why not change those arrangements?
Several stores resumed business for the first time today as a further ease in lockdown measures took effect. In Bridgetown, clothing stores welcomed back customers with new safety protocols in place. Some store owners told Barbados Today the shutdown has severely affected their bottom line and they're hoping activity will pick up soon.
Our customers this morning were primarily for our first floor where we have most of our apparel. We were receiving lots of calls during the closure of those departments, and we saw the foot traffic in that area this morning when we opened.
What we expected is what we get. I think we was expecting things to be a little bit slow, but however, people still coming out to purchase things, to wear back to work and stuff like that. So I don't think it's a little too bad right now at this time. That's my opinion about what's going on right now.
This is the first time that we are opening today, so we really come like to put some order in place. That when the customers come in, that they will know how to go along with the order.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news now, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourism Association reveals that government was shot down in its attempts to get support from airlines and the Regional Tourism Association for mandatory testing for tourists. Prince Moore of Television Jamaica has the story.
The announcement by the government that visitors to the island will do voluntary testing for COVID-19 has left some Jamaicans feeling uneasy, especially with the warning from the Minister of Health to brace for a spike in cases in light of the easing of restrictions. Speaking today on the morning agenda on Poro 106, Chairman of the Montego Bay Chamber of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Robin Russell, said the government was left with limited option. He explained that the JHTA had recommended testing of tourists to the government and encouraged it to discuss the matter with the airlines.
But what we were told and what we got from the discussion was the airlines did not have the capacity to do it. Whether they wanted to or not, that's another thing, but they decided that they were not going to do it. We then lobbied the CHTA, which is the Caribbean Hotel and Tourist Association, to say we needed as a Caribbean to stand up and say we needed this testing. You know, if we stood as a body, Caribbean body, then maybe we would have a voice. The CHTA said that they would not require testing either. The WHO has said that they were not going to require testing they didn't see it as plausible for airlines to be testing. So Jamaica had a choice. Either we were going to stand alone and miss the opportunity for flights to come into Jamaica, or open the doors.
The revelation ran counter to Prime Minister Andrew Holness's assertion that insufficient testing equipment formed part of the decision to allow for voluntary testing for tourists.
On the international front, the hashtag Blackout Tuesday became the top trending item on Twitter as thousands of businesses and individuals signaled support for racial injustice as street protests over the police killing of George Floyd entered its second week. Here's an update on the protests from Reuters Television.
Vegas has seen several days of protests, much of it peaceful. Earlier in the day, one activist shook officers' hands. The demonstrations were touched off after George Floyd, an African American, died following his arrest by a white cop in Minneapolis. Video showed the officer grinding his knee into Floyd's neck. The cop was fired and charged with third-degree murder, but protests demanding police reforms have sprung up nationwide. Some have spurred looting and lawlessness. In Missouri, 4 police officers were wounded by gunfire Monday night. The city's chief of police made a tearful plea for calm.
So some coward fired shots at officers, and now we have 4 in the hospital. But thankfully, and thank God, they're alive. They're alive. But can we make some sense out of this?
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.